Welcome to the program. We start with politics, and the Orange Democratic Party's MCAs forcefully ejected Party Executive Director Magere Langat from a CORD Parliamentary Group meeting.
The MCAs stormed the meeting and roughed up Langat, pulling him from his position between CORD leaders Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka.
As KTN senior political reporter Sam Ogina now tells us, Magere was accused of being a traitor and a Jubilee mole.
Drama ensued right outside the CORD Parliamentary Group meeting at Orange House, presided over by CORD leaders Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka. A section of MCAs from ODM branding the party's executive director Magere Langat a traitor for allegedly claiming the party was dead. The MCAs stormed the meeting baying for Magere's blood, then seated between Raila and Kalonzo. But that would not stop them. They trampled and overpowered anyone who stood in their way. They would rough up Magere forcefully and violently, ejecting him from the meeting to the agitation of the CORD leader. The MCAs dragged Magere from Orange House premises, rebuking and fighting those who tried to shield him from their aggression. Not even his bodyguard could contain them. No, I don't know what's happening. As luck would have it, a police vehicle passing outside Orange House was Magere's reprieve. The MCAs have no remorse for their action as ODM staged a damage control measure.
Ile jambo ile ambayo tulisema lazima tufanye kwa sababu wabunge wetu wanalala. Na sasa sisi kama MCAs ya Nairobi tunataka chukua jukumu kusafisha hii chama mpaka iwe safi, iwe na watu yake ya ukweli. Magere Langat has been a liability to this party all the time. Yes, it doesn't add any value to the party. So, we don't want to see him again here.
Like you, we were surprised and we condemn it with all figure possible.
The MCAs have declared Magere persona non grata in the party. As if that was not enough, they deflated all tires on Magere's vehicle.
This was not a surprise because they had planned this function to take place today. And as a member of parliament from Kipkelion West, I'm really hurt. I have felt it. He's one of me. Though I contested with him, he is my member. And I strongly want to condemn that act. I'm repeat about it.
Hiyo mkutano tunaambiwa ilikuwa ya kuokoa Kenya. Nafikiria sasa Wakenya wameona vile Kenya inaokoka.
Wakati vita ilianza, Raila alikuwa anjafika kwa hiyo kikao kwa sababu mimi mwenyewe nilikuwako. Ndipo nasema kwamba vitu zingine tukiongeza siasa, tusiongee uongo, unajua kwamba vitu zitakuwa kutokea na sikumize.
If the leadership of this country would get so low to the extent of physically harassing an executive director of a political party.
The roughing up of the ODM executive director has exposed fault lines within the Orange Party, begging the question, is political intolerance eclipsing the space of democracy within the Democratic Party? Sam Ogina, KTN, Orange House, Nairobi.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with KTN Prime. President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto this afternoon visited the family of Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto and consoled them following the demise of his daughter Amy Chepngetich Ruto.
Chepngetich passed on last Friday after a long illness. President Kenyatta and the deputy president said it was unfortunate that the cruel hand of death had snatched Amy at a time when her contribution to society was greatly needed.
At the time of her death, Amy Ruto was an electrical engineer at the Geothermal Development Company in Nakuru. She was also the captain of the Kenya national women's cricket team. She will be laid to rest this Saturday in Bomet.
Turn our attention now to West Africa. Angry demonstrators in Burkina Faso went on the rampage today to protest plans to allow President Blaise Compaoré to extend his 27-year rule. The protesters set parliament buildings on fire and wreaked havoc across the capital, Ouagadougou, in an effort to scuttle the plans. They then ransacked state television, forcing it off the air. Let's take a look at the protest, courtesy of Euronews and BBC.
The demonstrators who chanted anti-Blaise songs stormed the National Assembly building in Ouagadougou, ransacked the offices and then set the building on fire. Hours into the protest, the government announced it was calling off the vote. It is not yet clear if this is an official position of the government or if it was a temporary move to quell the violence. The agitated protesters also broke into the headquarters of the national television station. The country has been tense for days in the run-up to Thursday's vote over the constitutional changes. Several thousands of protesters had marched through the capital on Wednesday, the day after street battles erupted during a mass rally by hundreds of thousands of people against what they see as a constitutional coup by supporters of Blaise. Blaise was only 36 when he seized power in a 1987 coup in which his former friend and one of Africa's most loved leaders, Thomas Sankara, was ousted and assassinated. The now 63-year-old has remained in power since then, re-elected president 4 times since 1991 to 2 7-year and 2 5-year terms. In 2005, the constitutional limits were introduced and Blaise is coming to the end of his second 5-year term. The opposition fears the new rules would enable Blaise to seek re-election not just once, but 3 more times, paving the way for up to 15 more years in power. Right, this is the latest update we have from Burkina Faso. 1, the president has imposed a state of emergency, and 2, the government has been dissolved. We're keeping an eye on that story for you. Let's now take a look at business news. Joy Doreen Mbira has that for you. Joy?
Thanks a lot, Linda. And yes, we do have quite a lot lined up for you, but among them, key is the Q3 final results for Equity Bank. This and more is coming up. Do stay with us.
You're watching KTN Prime.
Good evening and welcome to KTN Business. The growth and enterprise market segment of the Nairobi Securities Exchange is set to get its second listing in a year. The Flametree Group will be listing 161 million shares at $1 per share by way of introduction on the James market. The listing puts the consumer goods manufacturers share capital at 1.3 billion shillings, joining Home Africa on the James market. KTN's Charles Gitonga has more.
The Flametree Group, makers of Roto Tanks, Jojo Plastics and Zoe Cosmetics, has received the NSE and capital markets approval to list its entire existing share capital at the bourse by the way of introduction. The firm will be listing its 161 million shares from the 6th of November.
We see this as a great opportunity for retail investors, a great opportunity for the group itself.
The group's just concluded equity private placement attracted a subscription rate of 158%, raising 194 million shillings from local and regional investors. Heril Bangera, who founded the business 25 years ago, believes this is a sign of confidence by investors in Flametree's business model and growth strategy. Flametree now plans to expand its production capacity, extend wings to new markets and grow its market share using the money raised in the private placement and the additional capital to be raised from the exchange.
We have seen that our investors are confident in our model, and we believe we have a bright future ahead of us.
Flametree also recently named its board of directors, including Housing Finance Managing Director Frank Ireri, ahead of listing. The group, which also has operations in Mauritius, Ethiopia, Dubai and Mozambique, recorded a turnover of 1.6 billion shillings last year. Charles Gitonga, KTN.
The government has dismissed plans by Parliament to regulate airfares charged by local airlines, a move that could defeat a bill currently being debated by the House. According to Transport Secretary Engineer Michael Kamau, it's hard to regulate private business if operational parameters are not taken into account. Instead, the ministry is pushing for more entrants into the airline business to drive competition and bring down the cost of air travel. During debate on the floor yesterday, members of Parliament complained about what they termed Kenya Airways' monopoly of air transport in Kenya and its high ticket prices.
How do you register private business? The price of sugar in Kenya is not registered. Neither is the price of fuel. But if they can tell us that they will keep the price of, say, fuel for aircrafts, and the price of tires, and the price of the aircraft, and the maintenance. If they can control all that, then maybe they can control the prices. But you can't. It's impossible. It's a free market. We left that place a long time ago. What we should allow is the growth of business. Allow businesses that comply with the business regulations to come and operate. So if Ram from Mozambique is coming, Kenya Airways is charging expensively, you have alternatives. We should allow what do we call it? A business environment that supports growth of competition.
The banking sector has been the hottest ticket in town after posting ever-rising profits in a rather sluggish economy. But the sector could finally be feeling the heat as it posts a reduction in pre-tax profit in the 3 months between July and September 2014. Here now, Adelaide Changole reports.
According to the latest banking sector report by the central bank, banks recorded a pre-tax profit of 33.5 billion shillings in the third quarter of the year, a 10.9% reduction from the 37.6 billion shillings registered in the second quarter. At the same time, the sector's total income stagnated at 104 billion shillings in the quarter, while total expenses jumped 5.7% from 66.6 billion shillings in quarter 2 to 70.4 billion shillings in quarter 3. On an annual basis, however, banks have maintained their winning form, increasing profits by 13% from the 92.5 billion registered in September last year to 104.5 billion shillings this year. During the quarter, net assets rose to 3.08 trillion shillings, while the deposit base increased by 4.7% to 2.25 trillion thanks to branch expansion, use of agency banking and remittances. Demand for credit remained robust, with banks registering a 7.3% jump in loans and advances to 1.91 trillion shillings. Unsurprisingly, however, the tourism, restaurants and hotel sectors registered a decline in loans during the quarter, falling from 41.5 billion in the second quarter to 33.9 billion shillings. With the rise in loans came an increase in non-performing loans in quarter 3. According to the banking sector report, non-performing loans rose to 103.7 billion in the quarter ending September. CBK says the situation affected more than half of the economic sectors and was brought about by a spillover from the high interest rate regime and challenges in the business environment. However, the proportion of net non-performing loans to gross loans improved during the quarter from 2.1% to 1.9% over the same period. Similarly, the ratio of gross non-performing loans to gross loans declined from 5.7% in June 2014 to 5.4% in September 2014. The banking sector registered enhanced capital levels in September 2014, with total capital increasing 4.9% to 458.1 billion shillings in September. This lifted the industry ratios of core and total capital to total risk-weighted assets to 15.1% and 17.8% respectively. The move comes as banks engage in aggressive capital raising ahead of the January 2015 CBK deadline requiring banks to increase their capital adequacy ratios from 12% to 14.5%. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
And that's it for business. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Coming up shortly is KTN Sports with Lynn Washira.
This bulletin starts in Martyrs football, where Football Kenya Federation has hit a hasty retreat and momentarily lifted the ban slapped on Gor Mahia and FC Leopards fans to stay off the stadium during the remaining Kenya Premier League matches. This is after an appeal from the two clubs, which means the punishment will come into force after the case is heard and determined. Meanwhile, Sofapaka will travel to Mumias after overturning the earlier decision to not honor their fixture against AFC Leopards. Hassan Juma reports.
Gor Mahia will play without fans up to the end of the year.
Just 48 hours after Football Kenya Federation had banned Gor Mahia fans from gracing the club's two final league matches, there is every indication that the Federation could be reversing this decision, at least for now. A statement from the Federation's Chief Executive Officer, Michael Esakwa, the Federation is awaiting determination of appeals lodged by the two clubs. Moroni Youth Chairman Moses Adagala's plea to have fans grace their match against Gor Mahia seems to have given the appeal more weight.
Kama self-sponsor club, kucheza bila fans kwa uwanja itatumiza upande wa kupata revenue. But mchana leo nimesema asante kwa president na kamati yake. Kwa sasa tutakuwa na fans kwa uwanja. The federation had ordered the country's biggest clubs, Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards, to come up with strict measures now to handle their fans following the Machakos chaos that marred Gor Mahia's match against Sofapaka. For the two round of matches remaining before the 2015 season ends, the federation is trying not to give any club undue advantage.
Both Gor Mahia and AFC now, they must come up with a serious, comprehensive security program acceptable to both FKF and KPL before we readmit them.
And to some athletics news now, for Ethiopian athletes are among 2,000 participants expected to take part in this year's ABC Bank Baringo Half Marathon set for Saturday. The Ethiopian athletes will join a star-studded list that has in it some of last year's participants who are looking to improve on their results, as well as bag the 300,000 Kenya shillings top prize. Ethiopia's Dereje Debela, who has returned good times at the Ethiopian local circuit, as well as Dejene Woldesatik, will grace the men's 21 kilometers race. Ethiopia Trail 12 kilometers champion Bechayedu Tadese and Mekedes Chegen will take part in the women's race. And staying with athletics, well, he borrowed bus fare from a neighbor to facilitate his travel to Nairobi to take part in the just concluded Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. That is the story of the 2014 Standard Chartered Marathon winner, Peter Kosgei, a resident of Chemobul village in Keio South. Kosgei says his success resulted from sheer hard work and determination. Well, that's how we wrap up tonight's edition of KTN Sports. Be sure to join me tomorrow for another comprehensive edition of KTN Sports. I'm Lynn Washira. Do have a very good night.
KTN Sports in association with Tusker Lager.
Shindia timu yako chapa and win prizes worth up to 20 million shillings. Jenga game na Tusker. Twende kazi.
KTN Weather in association with Morteen Dew.
Morteen Doom. A peaceful night is a Morteen Doom night.
Now at a reduced price of only 299 shillings for a limited period. Get it today and save 100 shillings.
So tonight we are asking you if you think Raila and Kalonzo should have rescued Magere from MCAs. Let's see how you've polled so far.
ODM House Drama has been our hashtag and a lot of Twitter responses coming through. And Anton Aoko says this is the time Mr. Odinga and Mr. Kalonzo should have shown leadership and rescued Magere.
Adikizo Daniela says political intolerance should never see the light of day. True leadership entails taking brave strides towards tolerance.
Muchacha generally says Ben and Linda MCAs have come to be the menace of poor politics around the country. They should go home.
The percentages is there on your screen. 51% of you say yes, 49% of you say no. Linda Marcel says Magere must have said. Did you just read that?
No.
Linda Marcel says Magere must have said the truth because the truth always hurts.
Sakoich on Twitter says yes, Raila should have launched Okoa Magere for us to believe in their Okoa Kenya drive.
Those are your opinions. We thank you for participating in our big question tonight.